Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished entrepreneur from Pune, India, Mr. Praveen Kakulte. Praveen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Praveen is the founder and chief executive officer of the POWERCON Group. So, Praveen, my first question for you. You are a first generation entrepreneur in a highly capital intensive sector. What inner belief or moment gave you the confidence to start this journey without external funding?
A very nice question to open the discussions. Ashutosh, renewables comparatively had been very young. It's just 4.5 decades of time.
Mm,
Technology is evolving. So, truly speaking, technological transformation is the need rather than the scale.
mm,
So, what you need at this juncture is more an intellectual capital to be put in
mhm.
rather than the financial capital.
Right.
When I started my journey a decade ago, I devised there was an unmet gap in the industry. And the gap was not about scaling. The gap was more about making the assets perform to the
Mhm,
fullest. Renewables, mainly comprising of wind,
mm,
and then recently the solar. The issue is more about the extraction coefficient of the yield.
mm,
How much can you juice it out? And then 10 years back, when I decided to launch PowerCon, the idea was about knowing and understanding the assets.
mm,
Incidentally, there were no good means. There was no enough technology to detect the deficiency and understand how you can make it more efficient.
mm,
That was the genesis of finding and the trigger for me that I should launch maybe a technical detection lab,
mm,
which will be in a position to handle the renewable assets, know them better, and draw conclusions how they can be made more efficient.
mm.
That has been the trigger point for my founding journey,
Very
and
interesting.
which never needed a financial capital.
Very interesting. And over 3 decades in wind and solar, what would you say has been the most defining challenge or failure, which later became a turning point in your leadership journey?
This is something which I need to reveal the truth, a bit about the sector, a bit how it really got evolved. See, renewables today I regard it second to IT.
Mm,
The way IT boom had been there. Today, to fight the climate change, an alternative energy is something which is needed.
correct.
And renewables is one part which is going to fuel this particular ambition.
Mm,
So what happened over the last 3.5 decades of time? The technology was in place.
mm,
Very, very, very few players
mm,
across the globe. So what was ruling was more the proprietary nature of the business,
mm,
because of which you could see that wind plantations were happening, solar plantations were happening, but the efficacy of that was not known.
mm,
It was more hidden within the reins of the original equipment manufacturers.
mm,
And rightly so, since the technology was evolving, the OEMs were also studying about the dynamics of those particular wind and solar power plants.
mm,
So at that time, the disclosure was never made.
mm,
And the problem was that India was bullish, continues to be, for the renewable energy plantations. There were a lot of facilities which were made available in terms of generation-based incentive, sales tax incentive, and whatnot.
mm,
So people wanted to join this particular mission of being independent power producers. So when they started buying and installing the power plants using wind or sun,
mm,
they never got a feel that they are owning the power plant because they were not able to very much gain a clutch on the technology,
Right.
and the visibility about the performance of the assets was never known.
Mm.
OEM, rightly so, was trying to restrict the information to himself
Right.
because he was also studying the same.
Mm.
And therefore, the problem had been, how do you know whether your wind turbine is performing to the available winds at that particular point of time?
Mm.
Also, a solar plant is performing to the available sun resource at that particular point of time. This was only known by the OEM.
Mm.
In my first phase of the journey, in my employeehood, I was the man who was a part of the OEM technology.
Right.
And I confess that I was also the part of that framework of limitations.
Mm.
I was not able to reveal the true performance of the assets. There was a content which was hidden, limited, and the disclosures were not full.
Mm.
Now, this is something which was always paining subconsciously because I knew that an asset can be performed much, much greater and better if
Mm.
a visibility is given.
Yeah.
Having said that, when I switched to my entrepreneurial journey, at that time, the first thing was about repentance. And the way was, I would like the world to let know how their own assets are performing.
Mm.
And that's where I had set up my energy studio in Pune,
Mm.
which you can call it as a battlefield,
Yeah.
which you can call it as a third eye, which you can call it as a cockpit.
Mm.
So I was able to give a visibility to the world about how their assets,
Mm.
which are remotely located, maybe in the mountains, on the coast, any part of the world, any make, any technology, I got all them integrated and made them communicate to my
Mm.
central energy studio.
Mm.
This was a data collection. And in the data lake, when the information came in, using the algorithms and the domain expertise which I carried for 3 decades of time,
Mm.
I tried to reveal the performance of the asset.
Yeah.
So that has been my turning point, that the hidden pain about not giving a disclosure about the asset performance,
Mm.
I then wanted to reveal it to the world. And
Thank you.
today, Ashutosh, you will be happy that the Energy Studio in Pune, it's the technologically most supreme, Asia's
Mm.
first. And worldwide, the solution which is there, which is also a software solution that is deployed in 132 countries across the globe.
Mm. Mm.
So this has been the basis and the reason for the formation of PowerCon, and we became the technical detectives. So it's a lab. It's a lab wherein you are in a position to hook up to the different wind power plants, solar power
Mm.
plants,
Mm.
and you are able to see the performance dynamics. It's something like we go to a doctor in a
Mm.
laboratory to check our blood,
Sure.
ECG and all,
Mm.
and then we get a report.
Yeah.
And in the report, we start looking at, oh, this is red, this is bold, and we try to draw our own inferences.
Correct.
So what we do in the energy studio,
Mm.
the data, we derive the knowledge and intelligence that
Mm.
where is it your energy potential is hidden and you are not able to convert that into electricity.
Mm.
So this is the technical detection.
Very
So
interesting.
there is a room for improvement the efficiency of those assets.
Correct.
And that's the point. We come up with reports for the asset owner. So the asset owner class is the one who has invested his hard-earned money in buying those products or equipments of
Mm.
different manufacturers. You know all of them across the world, right? From Anacon, Suzlon, Vestas, Siemens, you name it. And there's a dozen of those who are the prime product deliveries for the wind power plant.
Mm. Very interesting. You've spoken to me about the energy studio. You also have a very interesting center for energy for engineering excellence, which where you address technology obsolescence. Tell me about this and how important or how serious is this issue for India's renewable industry today?
Center for Engineering Excellence fundamentally this has been an offshoot of my operations. My idea was to produce more megawatt hours of energy
Hmm.
per megawatt of installed power.
Mm.
So this is very, very important to understand the difference between energy and power.
Right.
Power is the capacity. Energy is the extraction what you draw out from the power.
Mm.
So considering that you are having 100% capacity, but you are not utilizing it fully.
Mm.
Reason can be any.
Yeah.
It can be a product deficiency, it can be the resource. Wind sometimes is low, more. Solar is sometimes the sun is shining a little bit less or more.
Mm.
But the extraction coefficient on an annual basis, if you see,
Mm.
it will vary between 20% to 35%,
Right.
depending upon whether it's wind or sun or a combination of that.
Mm.
Now, the issue came when we started steering the operations of the renewable plants. Many of the plants faced the challenge of technological evolution.
Hmm.
Technology evolves to kill technology.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. A lot of integrated circuits, microprocessors, those became obsolete. Companies like Intel, Signetics, Thomson, they discontinued certain products.
Mm.
Whereas your power plant is destined to work for 25 years of time.
Mm.
And now you have faced a challenge within the first 5, 10 years of time of obsolescence.
Right.
That was the time when I decided to bring in a solution by engineering, re-engineering,
Mm.
reverse engineering you call, so that we are in a position to give a solution for bringing back that asset to life.
Mm.
And that's exactly what Center for Engineering Excellence does today. We are not doing regular repairs or refurbishment.
Mm.
We fight the battle of technological obsolescence.
Mm.
And you will be very happy to register that today from India, I am supporting Germany, Netherlands, Poland, Argentina, Brazil, where the old turbines, which are more than 20 years old, you are not in a position to get the control systems or the power systems.
Mm.
So, on the basis of a golden sample, I'm in a position to redesign something, send it back to those countries. They install, they take trials,
Mm.
and we are in a position to bring back those assets to life.
Yeah.
That's for engineering excellence.
Mm. But tell me, again, I was reading about you. You focus not just on asset creation, but on lifetime performance. And what you're telling me is that, those plants which got 20 years old and so on, you are able to manage them or help manage them. Why is this mindset missing in so much of the renewable industry?
See, today, if you see, the industry is fragmented in terms of the investments which are coming in. There is a class of clientels whom you can call them as the depreciation class
Mm.
clients
Mm.
who want to take some tax benefits or who want to use the energy for themselves.
Mm.
There's another class of investors which are truly the independent power producers, big conglomerates. They want to make investment, put their money for the sake of producing electricity and sell it
Mm.
the country. Now, such investments which come in,
Mm.
these investments normally come in from institutional investors, private equities, and who generally have a tendency
Mm.
to swap the asset once they have matured to a particular level.
Mm.
So all focus, because of the way the industry has got fragmented in terms of the investment,
Mm.
the focus is generally going on how can you make the installations cheaper?
Mm.
The capital should come down. And there is a lesser focus comparatively on the yield.
Mm.
And that's where our political system is trying to build up. If you're focusing less on the production of energy over 25 years of time, then now there is something called as generation-based incentive. So you are, or there is a fall in the electricity prices now.
Mm.
So unless and until you produce more from the asset, you will not be benefited.
Mm.
That has been one of the reason that my focus has been now more in terms of asset management over a lifetime.
Mm,
It's not just about a one-time asset creation.
mm,
And the industry also is changing, Ashutosh. If you see now, there are very, very serious players who want to operate the wind and sun as power plants,
correct.
equal, equal to the stature of a nuclear or a coal power plant.
Mm,
And the technology change which is happening, that is also permitting them to take this particular risk that they are able to have that plant to stay alive and electricity being delivered for 25 to 30 years of time.
mm. So when you say asset longevity, what does it truly mean in practical and financial terms?
Generally, there's a term called as a designed life. Institutions like German Lloyd, they assess a particular product. Evaluation is done, and the product is designed for, let's say, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years.
Mm,
The manufacturer declares that.
mm,
There is a certification which comes. Yes, your product has been type tested, and this is absolutely fit for a particular wind class 2 or wind class 3 or wind class S, and the product will survive for its lifetime or the
mm,
design lifetime.
mm,
Now, the point is that this is a theoretical modeling, this is a
mm,
theoretical certification. And when you put your product on the field, then it is bound to face the vagaries of environmental aggression,
mm,
the grid aggression, the
mm,
fluctuations in the swing of frequency voltage, and the environment in terms of the dust, temperature, humidity, the aggression about the wind and sun, and all these pose difficulties in
mm,
the life of this particular power plant. So it does happen that sometimes you are excessively using the plant, sometimes it is underutilized. But on a scale of its design life, it is supposed to be operational. Now, what we do in deploying the tactics of asset management,
mm.
we keep a pulse on how an asset is performing. Like
Right,
you can consider that today we wear Apple watches, uh, and then everything is getting recorded.
correct.
Uh, you know your heartbeat, you know your blood pressure, and anything going wrong before you personally feel,
Mm,
there is a signal which comes, hey guy, there is some problem, please see your doctor. Or even a signal goes to the person who is your, in case of emergency contact, if the gentleman is facing a difficulty and then you need to support him.
yeah.
Similarly, what we do
Mm,
in our energy studio, our data lake, this is something which keeps on scanning the machines.
mm,
The data is scanned through a neural network
mhm.
mechanism, and we are in a position to detect what is going to happen next.
Right.
So that is not really a fortune telling, but it is a little bit of a predictive analytics.
Mm,
And through predictive analytics, you can take a decision whether you need to take a shot of that asset,
mm,
do the corrective work, and then permit the asset to work.
mm,
You are practically reaching a point where you intervene the operation of the asset
mm.
because you want to stay it longer, you want to live it longer.
Yeah.
So this is piece one of the asset longevity. The second piece comes in terms of after having used the complete design life.
Mm,
In India, since I told you that it's 4 decades old renewables, so there are a lot of wind turbines which have completed its design life.
mhm,
Now, what do we do after that?
mm.
They have occupied the best of the sites
Yeah.
and they are still there, alive.
Mm,
So, do you want to uproot and throw them? There is a possibility that you can still screen them, look into the technical condition of this particular asset, and do a corrective work so that
mm.
it can last another 5 years.
Correct.
So, what we do is a design life extension from 25 years to 30 years. And
Mm.
that's also the second piece of asset longevity.
Very interesting. My next question is that as storage, artificial intelligence, and digital twins evolve, how are you preparing for the next wave of the transformation in renewables?
Intermittency of renewables
Mm,
is the biggest challenge. You never know what's going to be the wind or sun tomorrow, day after, or
Hmm.
a month. And the problem is that you also have a limitation of the grid.
Hmm.
What do we do through wind or sun? These converters, you are practically converting the renewable energy into electricity, and this electricity is to be pumped onto the grid.
Hmm.
Now, if there is no taker, no load available, where does the power go?
Correct.
So you will have a requirement to park your power
Hmm.
when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
That is one aspect. Second, in the evenings, normally the world is lit up,
Hmm.
loads increase, but by the time the sun has diminished,
Yeah.
what you are available now is only with wind.
Hmm.
So you are going to have a gap. The load is more and the renewable source is lesser.
Hmm.
So here you are required to dispatch the power which is needed.
Hmm.
In these circumstances, the advent of storage technologies, today it is the batteries. Similarly, there are technologies of gravity, compressed air. So these technologies are going to park your power
Hmm.
and you will be in a position to dispatch the energy when it is needed.
Hmm.
You are able to pick up the energy when it is not needed, so you are storing that and you are able to release that when it is really needed. So
Hmm.
the entire dynamics. So truly a storage system is not a renewable system.
Correct.
It's a supplement to make renewables more and more effective.
Hmm.
And this dynamism is working. If you see that most the Indian system of the framework
Hmm.
for renewables, that is getting sound each passing day.
Hmm.
Now the new tenders, the new political framework which is coming, it necessarily asks you that you should be in a position to dispatch a minimum base load or a firm power or power round the clock. There
Hmm.
are different terminologies which are used. So storage makes this possible, and the future is about a combination of wind, solar, and batteries together,
Hmm.
where the effectiveness will come into play. One technology which I did not touch,
Hmm.
and I personally feel that that's the one which will be having another great potential, is about the geothermal. Now, geothermal is more about something down earth.
Hmm.
There's a huge amount of heat, and you can use this particular heat.
Hmm.
Geothermal will be one renewable technology, which is also a storage technology.
Hmm.
Wind you cannot control,
Yeah.
sun you cannot control, but the geothermal is something which you will be in a position to control and supplement.
Hmm.
So experiments are going on, and I'm sure that that will be the next in the line to make Indian renewables more prosperous.
Very interesting. And my last question for you, Praveen, and come back to you now. You kept your company 100% bootstrapped. And it's over, to find an entrepreneur do this for over 10 years is very, very rare. Did you have to take any trade-offs? And if so, uh, were there any challenges you faced by not raising money from outside?
I have been very sensitive out of it for this particular reason.
Hmm.
But what I realized, I said, for me, the most important thing when I began the operations was that there is a technical soundness which is needed in the renewable energy infrastructure.
Hmm.
Scale is not something which was needed at that particular point of time.
Hmm.
I am now 10 years young, having a fleet of more than 750 people.
Hmm.
So what I did, I developed a complete renewable energy ecosystem
Hmm.
of which you spoke, like Center for Engineering Excellence.
Yeah.
You spoke about Energy Studio.
Hmm.
One theme which I need to also reveal is that I also operate a Center of Renewable Energy,
Hmm.
which is a place for learning and making of technical commandos.
Hmm.
So I have built up the renewable energy ecosystem where we are now in a position to deliver a composition. The technical fortitude has been built up. And from operations, now I have moved to the next step, which is construction. Ashutosh, 10 years back, the assets which I took over for the purpose of maintenance have become small today. The wind turbine sizes have grown. Earlier it was 1 megawatt, 1.5, 2 megawatt. Now you see in India, any and everything is about 3.3, 3.6 megawatt plus. So the question is, how long can I survive with the older ones?
Yeah.
So I'm learning the new technology, the bigger machines by construction. So first, operations, then construction, and for the last 1 year, I'm also into the piece of the development. So I have evolved in terms of the capability. And the first phase of life is over of 10 years. We are into the 11th year of operation. And now I'm open. Now I'm inviting the world to join me, and I will be in a position
I'm sure.
to help the scaling up. And especially when an investment comes in the country, the investor comes with a bag full of money, but he finds out people, he makes a platform, and then he starts structuring. Okay, I need to set up a plant somewhere here. I need to look for agencies. In my case, I'm so happy and delighted to let the world know that now I'm a power packed organization who has the experience of 10 years of time,
Yeah.
operations, constructions, and development. For any investor to come in, on the day one, I will be in a position to give him
Absolutely.
few megawatts immediately.
Absolutely. And on that note, I just want to say thank you for speaking to me about such an amazing project, PowerCon, that you have built over the last 10, 12 years. Thank you for talking to us about renewables, about your own center of excellence, about your energy studio, and about so many different thoughts you have shared with me, my viewers and listeners, about energy. Thank you, Praveen, for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, and bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.